This is just a quick little message about your assignment that's coming up. And don't panic, this is not due until the very end of the semester on April 29th. But it does kind of correspond to this week's topic around collaboration with families, engaging with families. So I just wanted to kind of run through it a little bit so that folks know, what's expected. And then you can kind of plan accordingly as to how you want to, you know, schedule this and really take a look at the documents and feel comfortable with this assignment that because it is the largest assignment essentially you have this semester. So let me go ahead and share my screen and hopefully it's not too small for you to see, but I have the page open for week 5 and this particular assignment called Family Collaboration and Communication Plan. So essentially what you're going to do is you're going to use the list of questions that are right here. That's the second one from the left on the Canvas course. And use this as a guide with your interview for families. So what you'll do is you'll choose hopefully a student that you work with. Ideally, we want this to be a transition age student, but it doesn't have to be, especially because we always talk about how, you can't start transition too early. So you can certainly do this with younger students. And it's probably going to be more comfortable if you do it with a family that you know, but certainly if you want to challenge yourself and interview a family that you don't know well or a student that you don't know well, that's fine too. So here are some possible interview questions on this document. So essentially you don't need, whoa, that got really big. You don't need to ask every single one, but you'll want to ask enough questions that correspond to the rubric so that you are meeting all the requirements of this assignment. So in other words, the background of the student and the family. You want to get some information around the family strengths and the student's strengths, describe kind of the family dynamic, maybe the family culture, those kinds of things. Then you'll want to ask some questions about the value of their education and communication with school, and a little bit about their past history. And then there's a number of questions really kind of specific to transition planning and supports too, like what is a life transition that your child has maybe recently gone through? So, transitions from elementary to middle school, those are really big, or maybe they've been through a transition such as a move, to a different town or state. So there's lots of questions around that. And then I want you to pay particular attention to these follow-up questions. So sometimes we can get more information if we are better listeners and we ask open-ended questions. So things like, can you tell me more about that? Can you give me an example? How frequently does this happen? Is there anything else you'd like to share? So in other words, you don't have to stick to that question script uh, completely, right? You can have kind of this more open-ended conversation. Just make sure that you're getting the information that you need. And you'll want to do that by making sure that you look at the rubric, which is this other document, to make sure that you are covering kind of all the areas that are required for this. So there's sort of a step 1 and a step 2. I know this is probably really hard to see, but you guys all have this, so you can read it. But I'm going to go down to the rubric part here. And step 1 is just the family interview and reflection. So you'll want to make sure that you have a clear description of the child and the family. Again, what did you learn around their value of education and communication with the school? And then that section around transition planning and supports specifically, analyzing the interview process, and then making sure that you are putting this in the right format. All of that's pretty self-explanatory too, but of course, if you have questions, certainly reach out to me. And then you'll want to use this rubric to score yourself. So in other words, how well do you think you did on this assignment? And then I'll be scoring in the right-hand column. So that is kind of just, it's essentially a checklist to make sure that you're hitting all of the required objectives for this assignment. The step 1 section is worth 30 points and the step 2 section is worth 20 points for a total of 50 for this assignment. And remember, you do have a lot of time around this. So, certainly if you have questions, reach out to me and I can address those throughout the rest of the weeks of our course. This last section, step 2, is really identifying needs that the family has. So that's this next document, this form called the Needs and Resources form that I'd like you to fill out as well. So this is where you're identifying, does the family have a need? I'm sure they will have some sort of need around transition or, something linking them to outside agencies, for example. Do they need some additional resources? And you may feel, gosh, like at this point that you don't know a whole lot about, resources, but we'll be learning that throughout this course. So when we talk about starting transition early, when we talk about outside agencies, you guys are going to have a lot of resources. So don't panic that you don't feel like you have those things to offer the families at this point in time. But essentially, you'll fill this out, and ideally, we would want there's 3 goals listed on this form. If you can come up with 3 goals, that's great. I mean, if you really can't and the family is not really identifying more than one, let's say, that's okay. Just, communicate that to me. But there are some columns around the person's responsible for making sure they get them the information or the resource or whatever it is they need. What is their preferred communication method? The target completion date of whatever resource it is that they need. And then kind of how are we going to assess, that the student or that the family accomplished this goal or that the goal was actually completed. So that's what this form is, and you'll turn that one in as well. So just a quick brief overview of this assignment. Again, it's not due till April 29th, so you have a long time. I think all of our other weeks in this course will help with this. So I just certainly would suggest not leaving it to last minute, but you don't also need to get started right away. So yes, reach out if you have questions. Hopefully that's pretty self-explanatory. It sounds like you guys are all very well established in your schools, and I'm sure you have great connections already with students and families. If you don't, for some reason, reach out to me and we can figure something out, and I can maybe help connect you with a family if need be. Otherwise, I will see you all next week. Thanks.